The night my sister decided to throw her grand party, I knew it would be exhausting. She always loved the spotlight, fancy dresses, champagne fountains, a guest list full of people who loved to gossip. I arrived early to help set things up, or at least that's what she told me. "Just stay in the kitchen," she whispered, her eyes darting over the decorations as if I might ruin them. "Help the caterers, hand out drinks if needed. You don't mind, do you?" Of course I minded, but I had learned long ago that in my sister Olivia's world, I was the background character. She wore diamonds and pearls, I carried trays. She posed for photos with her friends, I picked up their empty glasses. It was humiliating, especially because none of the guests even knew me as her sibling. She introduced me as just helping with the party. At first, I kept quiet. I served wine, smiled politely when someone ordered me to fetch another appetizer. The whispers stung. "Who's that?" "The staff seems a little overdressed." I was in a simple black dress, not a uniform, but apparently my presence still screamed, "Help." My sister didn't correct them. In fact, she laughed along. But the truth simmered inside me like a secret weapon. The chandeliers above them, the grand piano in the corner, the marble floors they clicked across in their designer shoes, everything belonged to me. This mansion wasn't my sister's playground. It was my home. And as I balanced a tray of champagne flutes while Olivia and her friends toasted to her stunning estate, I realized I had a choice. Stay quiet like always, or let the night end with a revelation no one would forget. I hadn't decided yet, but their arrogance was making my silence feel heavier by the minute. By the time the party was in full swing, I had become invisible. Guests snapped selfies in the golden-lit hallways, complimenting Olivia on her exquisite taste. She soaked it all up like sunlight. Every time someone praised the marble staircase or the imported art, she just nodded graciously, as if she had personally chosen each detail. Meanwhile, I was stuck by the kitchen door with a tray of hors d'oeuvres. A man in a tuxedo snapped his fingers at me, not even bothering to make eye contact. "Another one of these," he said, plucking a shrimp skewer from my tray. When I didn't respond quickly enough, he frowned as though I were incompetent staff. I caught Olivia's eyes across the room. She smirked. That smirk told me everything. It wasn't just negligence. She enjoyed seeing me diminished. To her it was justice. I was the plain one, the quiet one, the sister who never craved glamour. In her mind, I didn't deserve to be anything more than a shadow at her party. But the irony? She couldn't even afford this chandelier if she sold her car, her wardrobe, and her boyfriend's Rolex combined. The inheritance had come to me, not her. Our late uncle had left me the estate, believing I would actually take care of it rather than squander it for social clout. Olivia didn't know the full truth. She thought the lawyers had given me some small inheritance while she remained the star. The staff, of course, knew. The head caterer kept giving me discreet looks, almost apologetic as I was shoved around. One waitress whispered, "Are you sure you want this?" "You don't have to," but I only smiled. I wasn't ready to reveal my hand. Not yet. Because if I played this right, the humiliation would flip back on my sister with twice the force. And that moment was getting closer. I could feel it in the way Olivia's laughter grew louder every time someone mistook me for a servant. The music grew louder as the evening stretched on. A jazz quartet played near the grand piano, my piano, and people gathered around the buffet, sipping champagne and bragging about vacations, jewelry, and promotions. I lingered near the dining room archway, still carrying that ridiculous tray. My shoulders ached, but I held up, letting the charade continue. "Darling, your home is divine," a woman in emerald silk told Olivia. "You've really outdone yourself this time." Olivia gave a modest shrug, her hand brushing the polished banister. "Well, I have an eye for these things. Nothing but the best for my guests." My jaw tightened. The banister she stroked had been restored by me last year, after weeks of researching the right craftsman. I had walked through every inch of this place, choosing what to preserve, what to repair. Olivia hadn't lifted a finger. Yet here she was, acting as though she had poured her soul into the house. Then came the breaking point. A cluster of guests, clearly tipsy, noticed me by the door. One of them laughed, nudging Olivia. "Your staff has such a serious face. Don't you teach them to smile?" Olivia didn't even blink. She looked straight at me and said, "Oh, she's not really staff. She helps out. It's good for her." Good for me. Like I was some charity case who should be grateful for scraps. The guests chuckled, one even patting my shoulder as if I were a child. I could feel my cheeks heating, not with shame anymore, but with resolve. My fingers tightened around the tray. I glanced at the massive oil painting above the fireplace, a portrait of our uncle, the man who had entrusted me with his legacy. He believed I was strong enough to handle responsibility. And here I was, letting my sister turn me into a punchline. No, not tonight. I placed the tray on a side table and straightened my dress. If they wanted a show, I would give them one on my terms. The only question left was, how explosive did I want this reveal to be? I took a slow breath, feeling my heartbeat steady. The champagne bubbles, the laughter, the glow of the chandelier, it all blurred together until I saw only Olivia, basking in borrowed glory. She clinked her glass to get attention. Everyone, a toast please. The chatter died down as guests turned toward her, eager to hear the self-appointed queen of the night. To family, she declared dramatically, raising her crystal flute. And to this beautiful home, which I'm so proud to share with you all tonight. Applause. Smiles. Glasses raised. I stepped forward, my voice calm but cutting through the room. Correction. Heads turned. The quartet faltered, one note squeaking on the trumpet. Olivia froze, her smile faltering, as she saw me standing tall in the center of the room. This home isn't yours to share, I continued. Every wall, every chandelier, every glass of champagne being poured tonight, it belongs to me. A ripple of confusion swept through the crowd. People exchanged puzzled glances. Olivia let out a forced laugh. Oh, don't mind her, she said quickly. She's just joking. Am I? I asked, my tone sharper now. I turned toward the caterer, who had been watching quietly all night. Miguel, would you kindly tell them who signed your checks? He hesitated only a second before stepping forward. Miss Clara, he said, bowing his head respectfully toward me. She is the owner of the estate. Gasps broke out. Whispers buzzed like bees. All eyes snapped back to Olivia, whose face drained of color. For the first time that night, she had no script. No smirk. Just silence. I didn't gloat. Not yet. I simply lifted a champagne flute from the tray I had abandoned earlier, raised it toward the stunned room, and said, to honesty. The guests raised their glasses awkwardly, unsure who to follow. But their eyes never left me. And Olivia? She was trembling, because she knew this was only the beginning. The silence after my words was heavy, broken only by the soft clinking of glasses as people tried to recover their composure. I could almost hear the wheels turning in their heads, rethinking every dismissive glance, every order they had barked at me, every laugh at my expense. A woman in pearls leaned closer to her husband, whispering much too loudly, "Didn't she carry drinks just a moment ago?" I smiled faintly. Yes, I did, because I wanted to see how far the charade would go. Turns out it went quite far. Some guests chuckled nervously, unsure which side to land on. The energy in the room shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was the one holding the power, and they all knew it. One man, the same who had snapped his fingers at me earlier, stammered, Miss Clara, forgive me, I didn't realize." I met his eyes and let the silence hang until his face flushed crimson. "No," I said softly. "You didn't realize. That's the problem, isn't it? None of you cared enough to." Across the room, Olivia was rigid, her glass shaking slightly in her hand. "This is ridiculous," she tried, her voice too shrill to convince anyone. "You're just making things up to embarrass me." Miguel, the caterer, cleared his throat politely. "With respect, Miss Olivia, everything your sister says is true. We work for her. She is the one who hired us. She is the owner of the mansion." Gasps again. Someone actually dropped their fork onto their plate with a clatter. Guests began to look at Olivia differently now, their admiration curdling into curiosity, even pity. And as I stood there, calm and poised in the home I had preserved, I finally felt the weight lift off my shoulders. But I wasn't done, because the truth wasn't only about the house, it was about everything my sister had taken from me over the years. And tonight, in front of her entire audience, she was going to face that truth. Olivia's eyes darted wildly around the room, looking for support, but the crowd that had once adored her was now studying her like an actress caught reading someone else's lines. The silence pressed on her shoulders. "Don't listen to her," she snapped, forcing a laugh. "She's just bitter. Always has been. She never knew how to shine on her own, so she hides behind money." I tilted my head, calm. "Funny, because you've spent your whole life hiding behind me." A murmur rippled through the guests. Olivia's face flushed crimson. "That's not true." "Oh, isn't it?" I stepped closer, my voice steady but loud enough for everyone to hear. "When we were kids, who covered for you when you failed exams? Who gave up weekends tutoring you so you wouldn't be held back a grade? Who took the blame when you crashed Dad's car? And when Uncle left us this estate, who begged me to let you throw your little social gatherings here so you could play the role of queen?" Eyes widened around the room. Several guests exchanged guilty glances, realizing just how much of Olivia's image had been propped up by lies. I smiled without warmth. "The truth is, Olivia, you never wanted responsibility. You only wanted the spotlight. And tonight, I let you have it one last time, so everyone could see what it looks like when the lights turn off." The room was dead quiet. Even the jazz band had stopped pretending to play. Olivia's lips trembled. For the first time in years, I saw something rare flicker across her face: fear. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. And that silence was louder than any toast she had made all evening. The crowd shifted. Guests who had clung to Olivia's side moments ago were now inching away, as if afraid her fall from grace might stain their gowns and tuxedos. A man in a navy suit raised his glass toward me. "Well," he said with a nervous chuckle, "it seems we've been toasting the wrong host tonight." A ripple of laughter followed, hesitant at first, then louder, freer. One by one, glasses lifted in my direction. "To Clara," someone called out. And suddenly the entire room echoed with, "To Clara." Olivia's face drained of color. She looked like a queen stripped of her crown in front of her own court. Guests who had ignored me earlier now swarmed closer. A woman I vaguely recognized from some charity board leaned in eagerly. "You must tell me about the restoration. You've done wonders here." Another chimed in. "I had no idea you were the one with such impeccable taste. The chandeliers, the gardens, truly remarkable." I answered politely, though each compliment carried the sweet taste of vindication. These same people had sneered at me, ordered me around, and dismissed me. Now they wanted my approval. But I didn't intend to let them off that easily. "I appreciate your kind words," I said, my smile calm but sharp. "But I don't decorate for praise. I preserve this house because it carries history, responsibility, and a legacy. Something far greater than parties and champagne." The weight of my words hung in the air. A few guests looked uncomfortable, realizing they had been complicit in Olivia's charade. As for Olivia, she set her glass down with a hard clink, her mask finally cracking. "You think this makes you better than me?" she hissed under her breath, loud enough for those nearby to hear. I leaned closer, my voice low but steady. "No, Olivia. This just shows everyone what I've known all along. You made me the servant, but you were the one living off scraps." Her eyes burned with fury, and I knew she wouldn't let the night end quietly. Olivia straightened her shoulders, summoning the last of her bravado. Her voice rang out, sharper than the clinking of glass. "Don't be fooled," she snapped, glaring at the crowd. "She plays the victim, but you don't know the truth. Clara has always been jealous of me. She hoards money, hides behind Uncle's inheritance, and pretends she's noble while I'm the one who's actually lived a life worth envying." Murmurs stirred again, though this time they sounded more skeptical than supportive. People exchanged glances, some raised eyebrows, others smirked at her desperation. I waited a beat before replying, letting her words fall flat. Then I smiled faintly. "You're right, Olivia. I do save money. I work. I plan. I don't throw everything away for appearances. Maybe that doesn't make me glamorous, but it's the reason this house is still standing. Without me, there wouldn't even be a party for you to play hostess at tonight." Gasps followed, sharper now, like the snap of cold air. Someone from the back, a man I recognized as one of Olivia's friends, muttered, "She's got a point." Laughter, real, unkind laughter, spread through the room. And it wasn't aimed at me. Olivia's mask cracked further. Her lip quivered, her eyes darting from face to face as the support she once basked in slipped away. She slammed her glass onto the table. This is all a lie. She's twisting everything, trying to humiliate me. But the more she shouted, the smaller she looked. I stayed composed. Olivia, you don't need me to humiliate you. You've done that yourself tonight. The room went still. She froze, her fury turning into something more fragile, panic. And that's when I realized, for the first time in her life, she had no audience willing to applaud her performance. Olivia's composure shattered. She slammed her hand on the table, her voice rising into a shriek. You're nothing without me. Without my charm, without my friends, you'd still be that quiet little nobody hiding in the corner. You think they care about you? They only care about this house. About the money. Her words echoed harshly against the high ceilings. A few guests flinched. Others shook their heads, muttering under their breath. The same people who once admired her now looked at her with something closer to disgust. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Maybe they do care about the house, I said evenly, but at least I take care of it. You only use it as a stage. That's the difference between us, Olivia. You perform, while I build. Applause. Actual applause broke out, hesitant at first, then louder. Some of her so-called closest friends clapped the hardest, eager to align themselves with me. Olivia's face twisted with rage and humiliation. Traitors, she spat, glaring at them. All of you, spineless traitors. The room turned cold to her. Conversations resumed, but now they swirled around me. Guests leaned closer, eager to shake my hand, to praise me, to secure a new connection. For years, I had been overlooked. Tonight, I was the center. Olivia tried to shout over the noise again, but her voice was drowned out by laughter and music as the quartet, sensing the shift, struck up a lively tune. She stood there trembling, alone in a crowd that no longer belonged to her. And in that moment, I knew the tables had finally, irreversibly turned. But the night wasn't over yet. I had one last thing to say, a truth that would end the performance once and for all. I lifted my glass once more, the chatter dimming as the room turned back to me. This time, I didn't speak with anger. My voice was calm, certain, the way Uncle would have wanted me to be. I didn't plan this evening to expose my sister, I began. I came because family still matters to me, even when it hurts. But tonight made me realize something. Respect isn't about titles or dresses, or who can throw the loudest party. Respect is about truth. About what you give back, not what you take. The words settled into the silence. A few heads nodded. Others looked down, thoughtful. I turned toward Olivia. Her face was blotched with red, eyes glassy with tears she refused to shed. For the first time, I saw her without the armor of vanity, just a fragile girl who had built her entire worth on applause. You don't have to pretend anymore, I said softly, only loud enough for her and those nearest to hear. But you'll have to learn to live without using me as your shadow. She opened her mouth, then closed it. No quip, no performance. Just silence. I raised my glass to the crowd. Thank you all for coming. Please enjoy the house. But remember whose home it truly is. Cheers erupted, genuine this time. The band played brighter. Guests moved toward me, no longer seeing me as a servant, but as the rightful hostess. And Olivia? She slipped out quietly, unnoticed by most, her departure as small as the lies she had once built her world on. I stood in the center of my mansion, no longer invisible, no longer ashamed. For the first time, I wasn't just living in the house. I owned the night.